everybody, welcome to Beyond the Lines. My name is Sarah. I'm the artist behind Pinselgeschichten, and today I'm working in my Outlander coloring book again. And I'm starting this page here. I have colored the whole shelf and I'm using watercolors for it. And I'm going to talk to you about how and why and what I want to achieve with the page. I'm very sorry about the audio in the video, because it so happens I forgot to turn on the audio equipment that I turned on for this particular clip here. So audio won't be as great as it usually is. I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna try and remember next time to push the button and go start on the audio equipment. I will make sure. But for now, let's start this page.
So this isn't the new page. I zoomed you in quite a bit, but let me show you the full page. This is what I'm gonna color next, starting today, and I've been longing to work on this page because this is one of my favorites in the whole book. I love the scenery. Ah, gosh, awesome. This story for it goes as follows. In fact, I had amused myself on the ride to the smithy by imagining an aerial view of the village as a representation of a skeletal forearm and hand. The high street was the radius along which lay the shops and businesses and the residences of the more well-to-do. So Claire is in the village down the hill from Liach, and while she's perusing things there, and this is a lovely shop, and I just love the scenery with the two women and the girl, all the little trinkets and stuff. Yeah, so I want to color this excuse me, and this page has been done by one of the artists who is very distinct with the line work. So here in the back you can see the lines are way thinner than on the focal point, which is the lady, the girl, and the vendor. And I thought, since there are so many thinner lines, and since this is what I think to be a very tranquil scene, I thought, watercolors. But I don't want to go with the neo colors, and I don't want to go with the Caran d'Ache, no, the Derwent Inktense, because they would be too bright for me, probably. I want to be a little more desaturated with my look, a little more muted. So I brought out the Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. So I'm pretty much scratching two itches at once, which is coloring with colored pencils, but also working with watercolors, because, yeah, I can, you know how it works, right? So with this particular scene, I think I will go mostly the way I usually color, which is upper right to lower left, because I'm left-handed and I don't want to smudge anything and I don't want to have my hand on wet paper too. So I'm gonna start coloring, and I think I will start with that shelf here in the back and choose a color for it. And I do have the full palette of the Albrecht Dürers, which do have the same colors as the full set of polychromos. So in case I want some things to be a little more standing out in the end, I could actually layer my polychromos on top if I so desired. But I want to go for the 280 pencil first, and I got the huge palette sitting next to me. So I'm going back and forth, so audio will be, I will be louder, I will be maybe not as loud, because I'm, yeah, moving back and forth. So I want the 280 and my trusty dark sepia, the 175. So I'm gonna get those pencils. You are 280 and you are 175. Been using these pencils quite a bit for some other projects, it seems. So I'm gonna start sharpening them. I haven't worked with this palette a lot yet. I've had a couple of projects before I moved to my new house, but that's so long ago. So I'm so happy that I can now get to work with this awesome product again. Maybe, yeah, this works as well. Nope, this. Do I have the right pencil sharpener for this? They do have a little bit of a bigger barrel, so they don't fit into the usual spot on my pencil sharpener. Anyways, doesn't matter. The light source before starting coloring is over here. This is the window. And I think there's also going to be windows or the door like on this side behind the lady and the girl. So I'm going to color the scenery in a way that reflects both of these light sources. Geesh, and I'm talking. And there's another light source here because there's a candle lit. But I'm gonna start with my what is it called? Burnt Umber, the 280 pencil, the little more lighter / vibrant kind of a brown. So I'm just putting down a layer. Not being very particular with the way I color, because I will definitely go on top with water, and I will get rid of those lines so I can be a little faster and a little less particular. Still, I'm trying only to color what I need to color, so not trying to color the plates yet. Just really, I love this scene. I don't know what it is about it. I guess it reminds me a bit of those old ways to draw things. A couple of years back, I think it was 2016 or 2017, I had a Christmas calendar, like an advent calendar on my channel with vintage Christmas pictures, with vintage Christmas cards, like those sceneries, coloring them. And I think just the way this is put down here and the way the faces are drawn and such, it reminds me of that vintage style, which I really like. So I guess that's why I've been itching to get to this page and work on it. And I'm very sure that that will also influence the way I use colors in this particular picture. I might go a little more quote-unquote vintagey, and yes, that's a technical term. I just made it up, and now it lives in the space of the internet. But I think when it comes to colors, like I had said in the beginning, I will be a little more muted, I guess, with the hues of color I choose. So I guess that's gonna come up. It's gonna be a little more vintage looking, which I like. So those pencils here are very soft. The lead is very soft. You can see I'm already like halfway down the freshly sharpened tip of my pencil. But they work really well on paper. Like, you get very good coverage. They're not very hard. They're quite almost creamy, just like the polychromos. So you can get quite a bit of pigment down onto the paper just in one go. And I like that a lot. So it's a good thing I chose that palette for this particular picture. And also I'm using supplies I haven't used in a while. Because one thing I seem to not be very fond of is not having the supply right next to me, but on a side table, because this palette it's just huge, this box. Couldn't fit it on my art table. So I kind of seem to always reach for the things I could stack on my art table. But this time around I decided, nope, I'm gonna go for the Albrecht Dürer pencils because I know how much I like them. And I will just clean up my art desk and make space on my second table here in my little area of artwork, also called art desk. The nook of creativity, maybe I should call it that. Yeah, I forgot what I wanted to say. Awesome. This is, by the way, the first video that I'm recording after having recorded the first batch of videos for my children's art channel, which is live, and the first, I think it's 4 videos at the point that this video comes out, are up. So in case you're a German speaker and you do have teenagers or kids, I would say the years 6, 7 and up, something like that, you have them interested in art. There's an art channel. It's in the description box below. It's called Pinselgeschichten Junior, and there's videos up. I'm currently at one of the 4 blocks of the basics for doing artwork. I think at this point, when this comes out, I do have shadows published, and there's always one shorter video where I explain the whole concept of shadows, like how they work, like the physics behind it. And then there's another video like following right away the same day for, well, how to draw those shadows, how to put them on paper or canvas or whatever. So if you have interested parties or you want to go back to German maybe and want to see that and maybe learn yourself, it's the way I explained is just made for kids and teenagers. I'm not gonna dumb it down, or I'm not dumbing it down for the other channel, but it's just the length of the videos and the depth of me explaining things, showing things, that is a little different from this channel here, which I call an adult channel. So all the content here is not made for kids. It's not intended for kids, though, I mean, the coloring bits here, I guess you could let a teenager watch too, but I guess it's a little long, maybe. The attention span is not as much as it is with us anymore. I have to get back to the picture now, talking about something else, because I'm at this point where I am very close to the candle, which is in a glass jar, an open glass jar. And of course, through glass, you can see the colors behind it. So I'm just very lightly gonna go around the candle here and color the glass bits just as I colored the background, so using the same pencil. And I will adjust colors in a hot second when I get to other pencils on the glass jar and bring it a little more forward or make it a little more distinct and visible. But now is not the time to do so, and I don't want to color object by object in a way that, say, I would color all of the glass jars first and then would go to the background, because I want this to look quite realistic when it comes to the colors, which means that, of course, I have to know what my background's gonna be colored with, so what hue I'm going for, what kind of color I'm going for, because, well, glass is see-through for once, and even with reflections, there's just there's just certain shades of colors that are added on top, or that I add on top. I shouldn't talk for everybody. Now I gotta be a little careful. So this is the bow. This is whatever this is. So there's a little brown here. Yeah. So this is the base color. And now I'm gonna start shading. So since the light comes from the left and also from the lower side, there's a little more of a darker part in here, so I'm just adding the sepia on top. There's not too much light coming in. I mean, this could be a gloomy day and there's other houses around. This is not a Hollywood studio spotlight kind of lighting. So I can go pretty dark actually. And I'm gonna do so by bringing in the sepia. Since I mixed it with, what was it called? Burnt umber? Yeah, with the burnt umber, there's more pigment on this particular section here of the paper, so I have to make sure before I go in with my water brush that all the areas where I don't put another layer of a different kind of color down, that I will go over my coloring bit once more with the burnt umber and add a little more pigment there, so as not to have this be very light and this be super dark and all of that. You know what I mean. I do the same thing with colored pencils all the time. So going underneath the shelf here, because there's definitely a little bit of a darker spot. And I'm just feathering in the sepia here from the left-hand side on the front of the shelf. And I'm not gonna bring it in behind the candle, for example. This is what I meant earlier with, I'm going to adjust the look of the glass by maybe leaving out colors or adding different kinds of colors later on. This is an example for that. So I'm gonna shade the inside the shelf a little more. Coming back to what I actually wanted to say, and you would probably hear that in this video. So last week, it's actually Monday today that I'm filming. So last week, Thursday, I guess it was, I think so, yeah. I did film 5 batches for my German children's channel. And of course, I'm recording the same way as I do here, but I'm speaking German. And it was kind of different, and I had to really concentrate and, well, make sure I don't use too many English words, and I don't go in with my quote-unquote English recording patterns. I really concentrate and use the correct German words, yada yada yada. And I'd say by video 3 I had it down. I was good. Now, today, I have the same thing, but coming back to English videos. Like, oh, I have to remember I can't speak German. This is a different channel. This is a different project. And what I usually perceive as being totally easy, because yeah, that's what I've been doing for years. Now I gotta concentrate a little more on what I'm saying, because I can't use German words. I'm recording for my English channel. So that's just a weird little nugget of wisdom for you. It just amused me. I mean, I'm fine with screwing things up language-wise and putting a German word in there and then realizing, oh, this is not an English word, now I gotta explain. It's called German Lessons of the Day. I do that all the time. Or if I don't remember the English translation for something, I do that. But it's just a little weird in my brain. So here, around the candle, I'm again only coloring with sepia around that candle holder. Around the glass bit. I'm not gonna take care of that part for now, because I will adjust that just in a hot second. And just gonna shade the drawers here right away. The lower we get behind the counter, the darker it's gonna be. And down here in the front of the shelf, I'm just gonna add a little bit of sepia every so often, because this is where the light hits, so I want to have the raw umber in there quite a bit. So I'm also gonna, don't want to bend my paper, so I'm gonna put down a little more of my raw umber, but there's a little tiny bit here that I forgot. So there's going to be a little sepia and then raw umber. And where I don't have sepia covering the raw umber, I'm going to add a little more just to get the intensity of the colors right. Because you get more vibrant colors when you have 2 layers down. And with everything colored with a dark sepia on top, there's 2 layers, but the solely raw umber bits just have 1 layer, so I gotta adjust that. I'm gonna disregard the glass for now. I will work on that once I do have my colors in here. Which is right about now. Alright, so I do, am I in frame? Yes. I do have little reflections here that I'm gonna disregard for now. I'm gonna add colors to that later on, but I need different pencils. I need a little bit more of a lighter brown. maybe you. So I took brown ochre, and I'm gonna bring that in here on top, just around the candle in particular. And then I'm gonna head back to my burnt umber. Give that another layer, very light touch only, because I'm planning to add even more colors. You can see the indigo next to me already. It's ready and set up, because, you know, I'm using that. But I also want a little more of the ochre here towards this side, because again there's a light coming in. But now with a super soft touch, I'm adding a little bit of indigo here to this side of the candle and also down here. Bring it in not as high as on the right hand side, but I'm also gonna have a bit down here on the bottom, but put my raw umber on top. And also a little bit of sepia. And I'm adding a little more sepia here. So this glass has a little more of a bluish or light brown tint, and therefore it will stand out against the shelf behind. But by using a little bit of my raw umber, no, burnt umber on top, I do have a little bit of the shelf color coming through too. Just a little more pigment here on this section. And I will color all of the china in the shelf too, and also the candle, and only then I will go in with my brush and have like a whole section finished, liquefied, to see what's going on there and have the colors set. But I quickly have to take on my phone because there's an important message incoming. Okay, that was a lovely mom that had a question for the children's channel. And there's a very impatient youngling at home who needed some help. All right, magic of editing, you didn't have to wait. So now I do go in with my indigo. You know me, I can't leave that pencil in my box and not use it when I do have certain colors that I work with. So I'm just adding it here and there, just very little. I don't want this to have a too bluish tint, but you know that brown and blue work very well together to create very dark colors. And then I have to choose a couple of colors for the china. So I'm tending towards warm grays. They're right here. I think I like the 270 and excuse me. Hoppala. German word. 270 and 272. I like those. And 272. And for the patterns, like those flowers here and such, I'm definitely gonna use indigo. But I think I'm also maybe using the 247. It's a very lovely, cool blue. 247, where are you? It's actually more like a purple than a blue. If I can find it. Oh, I went into the wrong direction. There it is. Come on, pencil, come to me. And it's called Indifferent Blue. I really like that. So I'm gonna start by sharpening my pencil, because these are quite tiny bits here. There's another glass bit I just saw. Okay, but I'm gonna start on the top shelf. Going in with my lighter shade of warm gray. Then adding my darker shade. Also adding a little bit here on the top. Bottom. Sheesh. Talking, Miss King. It's not really great. Adding just a tiny bit of indigo, just a smidge here. And then I can go on to the next plate already. And I'm doing the same thing again, starting with my lighter color, bringing in the darker one. And since this is more in this corner here, the whole plate will be a little darker, so I'm bringing in quite a bit of my darker warm gray. And of course, a little bit of indigo. For this decanter or vase or whatever, doing the same thing. Light gray, dark gray, this is even closer to that corner, so it's gonna be even darker. And then I'm bringing in the indifferent blue for just these little squiggles here. And a bit of indigo to put on top. I think this is supposed to be metal, so I'm gonna go for the cool grays now. And there I bring in cool gray number 4. As my base tone, and the Payne's Gray, as per usual, on top. Then I can go back to the china here. Again, light warm gray, darker shade of warm gray. And a little bit of only indigo. No in-3 in here. Next up, another of these cans or vases or decanters, whatever. Here I'm gonna take the indanthrene blue to bring in the decor. And I'm gonna add also a little bit of indigo. And for the next one, quelle surprise, as the French say. Another round of light gray. And more of the darker shade of that warm gray. Again, shading towards the left because that part of wood here puts my piece into shadow. And for this one, I only want to use the indigo to bring in a little bit of decor. Now there's like, that almost reminds me of one of those cheese things, and that's a technical term. Like this could be a cheese platter, and you put that glass dome on top to keep it fresh. So I'm using colors that I already used before. So this is light brown, brown ochre? Yeah, brown ochre, blah, 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 brown ochre that I used here around the candle. And then I'm gonna start coloring that plate here first, because that is also visible through both the glass pieces. So this one is way in the back. I could actually pretty much color it with my darker gray and use one of the cool grays, the lighter one, to shade on top. And for this glass bit here, I'm just going in with my burnt umber. And I'm gonna use a bit of my sepia here around that cloche. And I'm also going to use the dark indigo. this cooler gray here. A little more of my brown. And in the middle, I'm gonna bring in the light brown again. Forgot to color a bit of the plate back here. So I'm gonna remedy that. And this one here, I think it's gonna be made out of, I don't know, some kind of metal or iron, and not China. So I'm gonna give it a cool gray shade. And I'm realizing I forgot a tiny little bit of the shelf here. And then I'm taking my Payne's Gray. Are you Payne's Gray? Yes, you are. And I'm going to shade it again towards the left and also towards the bottom. And since I only put down one layer of the light gray, I'm going to add another layer in the center. Gonna go for this one now. And I'm staying with the muted colors for the background. So again, I'm using my warm grays. And the indigo, just to add a tiny bit of these lines here, and maybe also here. Maybe that's the pattern. Of that dish. Yeah, that looks not too shabby. Onto the lowest bit here. I'm almost done with that shelf. Going in as before with my light warm gray. Good amount of pigment, medium size, not medium size, medium amount of pressure while coloring. This one is a little different from the lighting because there's also light coming from the lower left-hand side. So actually, since this is tilted back in the shelf, actually the upper part is a little more on the darker part of the spectrum. Whatever that, I think that's a salt shaker, and I don't know. It looks like a cup for where you put your eggs in. I'm gonna go for the cool grays for this particular one, but I should think I should grab the right pencils. That would help. So I'm bringing in my cool gray. And then I'm gonna go on top with my Payne's gray to shade this. I'm gonna shade it from both sides because this is a round object. Like that, it emphasizes, well, the roundness of the object. Something like that, adding a little more of my lighter gray shade. And also underneath this bit here, there has to be a little more of a shadow. And of course, here and there, I'm gonna bring in my indigo. Now I only have to take care of that candle itself. I'm going to use the light gray that I used for the china. I'm going to shade it a tiny little bit from the bottom. And for the candle holder, I'm going to go for the cool grays again. And just to intensify some of the darker bits here and make it a little more alive, I'm gonna add my indigo. Now for the flame, I want a warmer shade of yellow. Thinking the 108 looks nice. Are you right? Yes, you are. So I'm gonna use that. But I'm also gonna put some of the Industream blue down here at the very bottom. Maybe a little more of an orangey yellow, or also an orange glaze on the very top. And that is the point where I can start my vlogging camera for one, and also get in my brush to liquefy pigment. So I'm gonna start with the plates here. The great thing is with watercolors, you can let a layer dry and then put color on top. And add even more color and layers and shading. And the Albrecht Dürers here don't move as much as other media do. They move enough. But this is, like with the polychromos, this is more of a layering instead of a blending. What was it called? Medium. Oof, words, guys. Sometimes I don't know why my brush is leaking really a lot of water. So I'm not squeezing it all. This is quite wet. But that's fine, I can let it dry. You really have to concentrate now. Sorry if I don't talk too much. But I gotta get around certain bits. Make sure that I don't color them all in one go, especially here with 3 glass items. Where I can go back to now, so I'm starting with the wooden part here. I'm going to the collage. You have to be careful, get a little bit of that brown on top here. Hold on, I gotta tell my roommate I'm filming. Guten Morgen, bitte einmal kein Audio, ich bin noch am Filmen für eine halbe Stunde. Ja. Danke. And I'm back. You just woke up. So I can do salt shaker, or at least that's what I think it is. Do that now. Oh, I forgot to color that bit, and I'm just gonna take what are you? Light yellow ochre to do so. Just one layer only, and I also forgot to color the handle of the drawer. I'm just gonna take plain Payne's Gray for that. Alright, now back to the top, and I can bring in my water brush here. And liquefy that pigment. of course also the left-hand side. So I'm just taking my time to really go quite slowly all around those objects and liquefy the brown pigment I put down. Watercolor will dry a little lighter, so I might have to adjust some of my color values later on, but I think that is fine. Just go for the base color here later and take a look once it's dry and see, okay, do I need to have a few more darker shadows? Do I need to maybe put in a second layer of a certain color? All of that, but very important thing for that concept is to always have your paper dry before you put down another layer of watercolor pencils, because otherwise you can't move the pigment anymore. And then you can see those coloring lines and you don't want that. I mean, that's why we color with watercolor, to have the flowy look. And another shelf. It's very important when you color something made out of glass that is in front of the same, or the color of that object is the same as the background, to not go over it with the pen, with the brush, like all in one color, like that, because otherwise you will lose the shape of, in this case, the collage. So going bit by bit by bit with the brush and really just liquefying the pigment of that particular part of that object, or then later on the background, is quite important, because that will give you the color detail, just like it gave me with my shelf behind the collage. You see, I'm also not coloring the part of the glass here. Gonna go in for the background first and color that shelf here, not taking care of the glass bit here around the candle, really just going up to it, up to that line with my brush, and not take care of the candle for now, or the candle holder. That's more accurate. Doing the same on the other side. And I can go that part underneath, like that part of the shelf. And I'm gonna color the drawers here first before I go back to the candle. In that time the paper can dry a bit, which helps with not having things bleed into each other where I don't want it. So it actually helps to, well, wait for a second or two before going back and coloring or liquefying the pigment of something adjacent to where you've just put your water. Labels. And for the handle of the drawer. And now I can go back to the candle bit here, and I'm starting with the candle itself. And the flame. And then the candle holder, so all the gray bits here. There we go. Now I can start on the top part here and work on that pigment. So I'm just really going bit by bit by bit, section by section. And on these bigger pits here where I don't want too much of the darker colors be pulled into the lighter parts, I'm actually starting with the light, then going to the dark, then I can pull things into the middle, in this case, a little bit. Same on the other side, starting with the light, having almost like a clean brush, and then I can go on the edge here, the end of the glass bulb, and pull some of the darker pigment towards the center a bit. Or some of the darker color up. Like so. I think I just had my big old head in the frame. Sorry about that. Now I can move on to the final bit here of my shelf. And after that, I'm gonna finish this video. So I think that's a nice point to cut and come back next week and color another section of this picture here. is that. Yeah. So I'm gonna stop this now. I'm gonna let it dry. And I'm gonna see you, and I forgot my audio equipment, I just realized. I have it here, but I didn't start the audio equipment. Well, sorry for the weird audio today. I forgot to start my audio recording equipment. Great, awesome, what a great morning. It's gonna be better next time, I'm sure. But for now, I'm gonna leave you. I will see you next week with the next bit of this page. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. The blog post will be up at 10 a.m. CET, Central European, I can't talk. Sheesh, Central European Time. That is what I wanted to say. The blog post will be up listing all the pencils I used today. I hope you had fun. I hope you have this book as well and are ready to start coloring this page. In case you're coloring it, please send it to me or tag me on it. Let me know, because I'm curious what you're working on and how you envision things. So take good care, have fun, and I'm going to see you next Thursday. Bye!